Hi.
All right. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm primarily a painter and video maker. I show here in New York City and across the United States and internationally as well. Represented by Gallery 138 here in New York, and then Stephen Wolf in San Francisco. I'd like to make videos of people in uncomfortable positions and compromising their values and morals, and doing, fairly naughty things as well. And then I take those and take stills of those videos and paint large oil paintings of them and hang them on the wall and have people come look at them and, fuck it, maybe even buy one. That's one kind of portion of my practice. I'm also
Let's wait for the sirens
a police officer. I pose with uniform occasionally. These are my boys coming to get me.
Zefrey has shown his work in prestigious institutions such as the Whitney, Guggenheim, and Venice Biennale.
I also work with a radio station. I have a radio program called Frank Prattle, and that's at frankprattle.com. And you can go and log on to the website or hear it on the radio, and it's an interview similar to what we're doing now, except it's usually with three people, myself mediating, and then two guests, and we talk about art, romance, life, love, happiness, the whole shebang, and then broadcast it for people to listen to. It's fantastic. I love it. And I do that with WPS1, PS1, and MoMA's radio station.
Now we find out how Zefrey came up with the idea for Frank Prattle.
I was in Jack Hanley Gallery, which is considered by many the best gallery in San Francisco. I don't know, which isn't saying a lot. That's like, the top of the dung heap. And I didn't say that, I'm sorry. And there were these people in the gallery looking at the art on the walls. And now I'm not the hugest fan of what Jack shows. Oftentimes I think he shows crap. You know what I mean?
I agree. I've seen crap.
But
I've seen good stuff
he
too.
also shows good things as well.
Yeah.
Right? But the show that was up was okay. It was nothing fabulous, but it wasn't horrible either, in my opinion. And these people were in there talking about just how atrocious the art was, about how they couldn't believe this is something that actually was called art, that, who would ever buy something like this, that just look at this and look at that and just, it's disgusting. But they were critiquing it in a way that, definitely belied the knowledge that they had no background in art. You know what I mean?
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, giving the definitely like, my 4-year-old could do this kind of analogy, which is like, that's great if you're retarded, but if you actually know anything about art, then you know that we've moved on to a place where there are certain standards and certain things have happened. You know what I mean? So that argument is an uninformed argument. And they were just, showing their ignorance. And at first I was a little bit pissed, and then I was like, wait a second. Like, these people just don't know, They just don't have the necessary background to judge what they're seeing before them. Whereas many people think that, art, I like what I like. And that's great, but you wouldn't go into an emergency room and say, give me that scalpel. I can cut like I can cut, you know what I mean? Like, I know how to do this, and so you wouldn't necessarily dissect an artwork the same way as that if you have the knowledge. And so my hope was really to start a radio station that would broadcast to the public, that people could hear, conversations between local professionals and artists and curators and people outside the field as well, who are, somewhat knowledgeable, talk so that they could learn about art. You know what I mean? So that they didn't have to go to grad school or something like that and spend, $80,000 so they could sound pretentious, they could actually hear from, people in their community and learn a little bit about art. And so I started this radio program, inviting people together to speak. Because oftentimes you go into a gallery, it is shit. And it's pretentious as hell many times. But, unless you know specifically why and from the history from where that comes, then you're making an uninformed and kind of silly argument against them.
Zefrey explains how he became involved with Red 76.
I used to live in Portland, Oregon, years and years ago, and I ran an organization with my ex-wife called Alphabet Dress, and it was a traveling gallery.
Alphabet Dress?
Dress, as in, the pretty things the ladies wear.
Okay, gotcha.
And we ran this organization that went, took shows, art shows of various artists and went to people's houses or warehouses or condemned churches. And it was a mobile gallery, and we'd hold shows like that. And we were having one of these in a big warehouse in Portland. And there's hundreds of people. It was a giant one. It got a little out of hand. This guy comes up to me and he asked me, hey, can I borrow your house key so I can use your bathroom because the line is insanely long? And I was like, you're right. The line is insanely long. Here's my house key. I don't know you. Make sure you give it back because it's my only one. The guy disappears. I go off and, get hammered, what have you. And I go back to my house at the end of the night, and I realize I don't have my house key. And I'm like, where's my house key? And asking my ex-wife, she's like, I don't have it. You've asked me 10 times, I don't have it. And I was like, it was that little guy with the beard stole my house key. And the next morning, I was able to track down somebody who knew who he was, and it was Sam Gould. And they gave me his number, and I called him up, and he lived way on the other side of town. And I called him up, and I was like, hey, this is Zefrey. You might know me because you came to an art event I held last night, and you took my house keys with you when you left. Can I get them back, please? And he said, he was totally hungover, and he was like, oh, man, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, and he gave me his address, and I went over there and met him, and that was how we began collaborating. Because we sat, for a minute talking on the sidewalk, and I realized, hey, I really like this guy, And that was easily 10 years ago, and we've done many projects since then, all over the country, from Philadelphia to California, New York, all over, and it's fabulous. It's good. That's a little bit about my history.